Hey, welcome back to the Glen Yaps uh, program. I've talked about this on a couple of my forums in the past, and it's something that concerns me greatly, to be honest. This year, I've lost three friends at a really young age. They're musicians, a couple of guitar players and songwriters. And sad part is they had a history of substance abuse. On my Facebook page, I'm very vocal about substance abuse in general, but it just seems that the last few years, musicians just seem to have been overtaken by substance abuse. I mean, it's nothing new in music, but it gets me angry, that's for sure. And with our local city having two losses of life outside of the music industry, two losses of life by drunk drivers, a younger woman and a young boy, both being hit by drunk drivers. It's definitely a massive problem here in our local community, Sault Ste. Marie. Now I'm going to focus mainly on the musician side of things, because it's a closer subject matter for me, because I've played with a lot of musicians in the past years that have had problems with drugs and alcohol. For me, I got a bit of flack when I used to talk about it on my Freaks Music Planet forum. Basically saying that, what do I know about it? I have no experience in it. But unfortunately, although I've not had a problem with booze or drugs, I don't do booze, don't do drugs, but I did have, unfortunately, an alcoholic father. So you grow up on the outside of that, watching this person self-destruct. And as much as you try to intervene, in most cases, the results are tragic. In my father's case, he ended up taking his own life. He was so confused by the end of his life that we basically, family could not get through to him. And we're talking when I was in high school, so I had that to deal with, when you just get out of high school and you find, that your life has changed because of it. So from an early age, I basically, I focused on not drinking, and the drug thing was just get it away from me. I just didn't want to be around any of that. As years went on, I was playing in bands, and I always tried to find musicians that were, for lack of a better term, straight. I didn't want that environment near me. As even more years went by, you come across more musicians that, for whatever reason, got hooked onto booze and drugs. And it was discouraging for me, because for me it was a catch-22. I really liked these musicians, and would have loved to have played in bands with them. Some I did, but it was a very bittersweet pill, because you're actually watching these people self-destruct. And I've had it in bands right up into recent days, within the last few years, where the two last bands that I was full-time with were, definitely had a few members dealing with abuse problems, and it took its toll on me, because they don't realize they have a problem. and you've heard that a million times. You can watch any TV show on it. They just don't understand that they are self-destructing, but they are also taking others around with them. For me, in my own music world here, I don't allow that in my house, in my recording area, in my band practice area. It was just something that was the rule. Everybody that was close to me knew that that was the rule. You couldn't come into my space and bring that stuff with you. It just wasn't allowed. You'd be shown the door instantly, and it's still like that. I want a totally clean environment. I don't even allow like cigarettes in the area of my house. It's just, it's just a group of problems that you don't need in your life. You just don't. The unfortunate part about the booze and drugs is it's so easy to get addicted to it. And having been in the music industry for a long time and friends with some of these people, I see how things start off as just casual, and then it isn't long before they're totally hooked on the chemicals, and you're powerless to do anything. It definitely makes me angry because you can try and get them to seek help. We've done it before. We've friends of mine that have tried interventions and try and get people to straighten out. And you may think, oh, that's funny. That's just like a TV show. It's just all fake. No, it's true. We've tried to get some people in our lives, in our music lives, to straighten out. It just doesn't seem to work. I don't know if we have the proper people here in town to fix that. I mean, I don't know. I can only do so much on a friend-to-friend basis. After that, it's like these people have to try and help themselves. The tick-off for me is how these people turn on you in later years when the substance abuse gets really bad. I've had some where we were playing gigs and they take money from you. They'll take your pay. They'll sneak in ahead of time, get cash advances, and steal the money from the band. And by the time you get there and play the gig, and you can find out that there's no money left, and all this has happened to me I wouldn't say in the early part of my years, because my years of playing, it was, it seemed like more innocent times. But as everybody got older, it was definitely a bad thing. But yes, musicians have stooped that low to not know what they were doing and take from others. They've taken music gear and pawned it off to feed their habit. They destroyed their own family relationships, and like I say, I'm very down on the drinking thing, and you get this argument, marijuana should be legal and all that, and it's like, you know what? At what stage of your life did they say, it doesn't harm you and all that, but you know what? At what stage of your life did you all of a sudden have this craving to start drinking and do drugs or smoke marijuana? Like, when you come out of the womb, did you is that what you wanted? Give me a beer? At some point somebody influenced you to get into all this crap. And I mean, I come from an alcoholic father, and I never had that craving. My older brother never had that craving. My sisters, 2 of them, never had that craving. So, and I don't believe all this scientific mumbo jumbo about this being hereditary. I mean, you have a brain in your head. There's ways around it. And for me to watch so many musicians in this past few years self-destructing is just frightening, crazy. I'll go see bands and they're just not on the same planet. It's just, it's a myth that, that they figure the drugs draw out all their musical expression and bring out more talent. And it's like, at what cost? You're damaging yourself, damaging your brain. And the musicians that I lost, the musician friends I lost this year, one of them, he was in such bad shape mentally that from drug abuse since he was in his teens, we all knew he had the problem, but it just got worse and worse and worse. And, I could walk by him on the street and, he'd barely recognize me. He was just so gone. One thing that I noticed in the last while is drunk driving. That makes me totally angry, and a lot of musicians have been caught drunk driving, including a couple of close friends that were musicians, and it totally pissed me off. It's nothing worse than waking up in the morning and finding, that a friend of yours, has either wiped out his truck or fell asleep at the wheel while being drunk, and his car is moving down the street and hitting the pole and hitting this and smashing into that. Nothing worse than waking up in the morning and reading that your friend is the one they arrested for this. And knowing that you spent years together in bands, knowing how strict I was about this, and they just don't get it. They just continue to do the same thing and self-destruct. How do we fix it? I don't know. I mean, the music industry has been plagued by this for decades and decades. I remember reading about it back on some of the 50s swing bands, drug abuse and booze, and so many great musicians made this huge mark on the industry and then died young, and it went through the 60s where we lost like Hendrix and so many others almost at the same time frame. But when it hits your friends and your local community and your local music scene, it's really a drastic shock, because for the first 10-15 years you're innocent. You're thinking you want to make a music career out of this, and you're writing songs and having fun, and it's like, and you're becoming better as a musician. You're studying your musical instrument. At what point does something go wrong where the drive belts start snapping and you start taking the wrong road and start losing it? I don't know, but all I know is it's very depressing for me to watch these great musicians, and some of them are really great musicians, self-destruct. And the sad part too is they think you're the evil one for talking about it. But you know what? I'm all about awareness, and I just don't want these people to hurt themselves, but definitely don't want them to hurt other people. There's been so much of that in the Sioux this past year. It's just been horrible. Every day you read the news and there's a DUI happening. I think we had, like I say, the 2 deaths by drunk drivers. One fled the scene, and and it took a while to get this person, but it's happening every day in the city. It's just something has to change, and there are some ways to try and get them help. Get your friends together and like I say, try and as a group get them into some rehab programs, but I'll be honest, I've never had good luck with it, and believe me, we've tried, but you end up losing friendships, and like the worst situations are when their love, which is family first and music second, when those two things don't mean anything, there's going to be destruction not far behind. So, but for the local musicians here, that there are some too that have this attitude, that they're going to do this. There's nothing wrong with it, and you're the idiot. And I know I've been basically shit on by them for voicing my opinion about this, but in the long run, they're going to pay the price in the end by their own stupidity. So it's just out of control. I would say it's totally out of control, and they have to look at themselves and definitely get help. I know I put the stuff on the forums and talked about it. I know they read it, and rather than get help, they just continue to think it's not their fault, but it is their fault. They had their entire lives to change. Some of them come from alcoholic families and problem families. You basically choose your own path. And, nobody put a gun to your head to basically say, here, have some booze, get into the drug thing. It's like, we're talking a small community. You got to use your brain. You don't need this stuff. Music should be enough of a natural drug just to get your creation out, your expression, For musicians especially, it's like there's so much you can do musically to move other people, to satisfy yourself. You don't need this chemical, this fake chemical crap to bring out your writing capabilities or your playing abilities on your musical instrument. You just don't need it. There's so many natural ways to bring out your talent. But anyways, it's just been a rough year, and losing three musician friends from many years ago, and musicians that I actually recorded projects with. It's been a heavy toll. It's hard to listen to the music now, at that time when we were, creating it, and then finding out these people have passed away because of, a bad, stupid habit. There's not too much you can do, in small communities for helping them. Every day you read the newspapers with, some young person dying from something to do with, taking their own life from, drug abuse and not thinking clearly. It's just overwhelming. It makes for sad music topics, definitely, but sad in general. Something I just hate saying. My opinion, though, it's, you don't have to drink. You don't have to touch it. You don't even have to put your mouth on a bottle of alcohol. The drug thing, too. You don't need it. You don't have to have it. People in these the addiction thing, they always wonder, well, how do I get all this stuff, this gear stuff and equipment to do this music thing? It's easy. I don't do booze or drugs. I know where the money's going. This past few years, watching a couple of musicians I know and in actually bands I played in, pawning their equipment off to get booze and drugs. It's like, and try and answer that question, to them. It's like, well, I don't do that, so you shouldn't do that. Then you'll have things. It's so cut and dry, but they're so far gone that they just don't understand that. But you can only try and help them when you're in the situation, but they have to want to be helped, like I said many times. But I am pissed off at a few local musicians there that just don't get it. And I hope someday they do. And hopefully it's not too late and we get to hear something creative from them and they straighten out. Anyways, that's my spiel. Very depressing one, but hopefully somebody out there is listening.